The next thing we'll talk about is a banker's acceptance. That's the next type of money market security. And they start out as a letter of credit, usually for international commerce. So if I am I'm going to build a large building here in the United States and I want to buy a bunch of Italian marble, I would go to the marble quarry in Italy and I would negotiate the terms of a sale and delivery, and then I would go to the local branch of an international bank and I would get a letter of credit guaranteeing my payment for the marble. Once the marble is delivered, then I have 30 days to make the payment. The Italian quarry, which now has my letter of credit, can take this document to the bank and say the terms of the sale have been met, and the bank will stamp this as accepted, and this now becomes a negotiable 30-day discount instrument backed by the bank. And if I make payment to the bank then makes payment to the to the banker's acceptance, which was formerly the letter of credit. And if I don't pay, then the bank pays. And so this becomes a negotiable 30-day discount instrument backed by the bank. The next thing we'll talk about is something called a broker's call or broker's calls. Now, if it is the case that a stockbroker's customers, they buy stock through the stockbroker, so I log on to my E-Trade account and I buy stock, I don't actually have to put up all the money. I can buy $20,000 worth of stock, and so the $20,000 worth of stock is owned in my account, but I only have to put up $10,000 of the money. Another $10,000 is lent to me by the broker. And this is referred to as buying on margin, and we'll talk more about this later on in the semester. The broker's calls are loans made to the stockbrokers through the money markets, and then the stockbrokers then lend the money to me to buy the stock. The loan itself is backed by the stocks that I own through the broker, and the broker has control of those stocks. So if I don't pay my $10,000 to the broker, and then the broker is therefore unable to pay off the broker's call, it can just sell the stocks. And remember, there's $20,000 worth of stocks backing a $10,000 loan, so these things are collateralized initially at 2 to 1. This is very, very profitable business for brokers. We'll talk more about this in later chapters, but one of the reasons that stockbrokers don't have to charge you commissions anymore is because they make a lot of money borrowing very cheap through these brokers' calls and then lending at a very high rate to their clients to buy stock on margin. And so this is a major source of revenue, this borrowing cheap and lending high to their customers, and the mechanism through which they do this is brokers' calls. And again, we'll revisit this in chapter 3. The next type of money market security are referred to as Eurodollar deposits. So Eurodollar deposits, these are not euros. Euros is a currency. A Eurodollar deposit is a large, short-term, offshore US dollar denominated time deposit at a foreign bank, historically in London. So it's kind of like a domestic CD that we talked about before, but it's issued by a foreign bank. And the rate paid on Eurodollar deposits is the London Interbank Offered Rate, or LIBOR. So how is LIBOR determined? Well, it's the result of a survey. ICE, which stands for the Intercontinental Exchange, asks banks how much they would charge to other banks if those banks wanted to borrow right now. So it's kind of a goofy question. They're not saying, hey, how much would you have to pay if you wanted to borrow? They're saying, how much would you charge if someone else wanted to borrow? In other words, what rate are you offering? And so ICE does this survey, collects a bunch of rates. The top and bottom rate are thrown out, and LIBOR quote is the average of the remaining rates. There are 35 different LIBOR rates. They're on 5 different currencies: the dollar, the euro, the pound, the yen, and the Swiss franc. And then there are 7 maturities: overnight, 1 week, 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, 6 month, and 12 month. And so there's actually 35 different LIBOR rates. When people refer to LIBOR in this country, they're usually referring to US dollar denominated, and either the 3-month or the 6-month LIBOR rates. That's usually when people say LIBOR's up, LIBOR's down, and they don't qualify it in any way. They're generally referring to US dollar in either the 3-month or the 6-month.